Hello, this is Pink Polo Programming and welcome to the second episode of my C programming course. Today we will code our first program, a so-called Hello World program. This is going to be our first program. It's called a console program, so it's run in the console. For example, by Windows or any other console you may have installed on your machine. And basically what this program does, it just prints Hello World into the console. And you will learn how to do that right now. But first, we need to discuss what a compiler is. So, a compiler is like a translator. It converts our written source code into machine code, which only consists of zeros and ones. In addition to that, the compiler tells us our mistakes. That means if for example, we wrote a word wrong and try to compile the program, we will get a compiler error. Before executing our program, we need to build it. That means to compile the code and make an .exe file out of it. It's very easy to do all of that. You just need to click on the gear symbol in CodeBlocks and it will compile your program for you. After that, you can click on the green play button and your program will start. First, you need to open your IDE. After we've opened CodeBlocks, we need to click on File and on New and Empty File. Now we need to save that file to start coding. Click on File again, click on Save As, go to the folder where you like your program to be saved, and give it a name. For example, Hello World. Then you need to click on Save. Don't forget about the .c file extension. Now we've got our C file and now we can start coding. Okay, so first of all, we need to write our main function. The main function is basically a code block, which is the first thing that gets executed when you start your program. For example, on your desktop, if you click on an icon, for example, code blocks, your computer will run an .exe file and it will first execute the main function. So, how does the main function look? First, we need to write void main, and we need to make two brackets. I'm not going to explain why we need to write void and those two brackets. I will explain that later when we will write our own functions, but for the beginning you only need to know that you need to write void main and two brackets. Okay, so everything that is written in those two curly brackets is in the main function. So it's really important to make those two curly brackets. Everything in here now will get executed as soon as we start our program. As I said before, we want to print Hello World in our console. And to do that, we need some commands to print that in the console. But we haven't imported them yet. Think of that like installing a video game. You first need to install the video game to start playing the game. So that's what we need to do with the functions to print out text in our console. First, we need to write hashtag include. We need to write this before everything we want to import. And now we need to make greater than and a smaller than character. And now we need to write the file which we want to import between those two brackets. We want to include the stdio.h file. stdio stands for standard input output. The .h stands for a header file. Header files are just files that we can import and then use in our program. Okay, so now that we have imported the basic functions or commands to print and read input and output things on our console, we can start writing the code. First, we will write print because we want to print something in the console, and then F for formatted. After that, we need to open and close two brackets and write a semicolon. Basically, every command in C is followed by a semicolon. A semicolon indicates that a command is over and that the compiler knows that now there is a new command in the next row. So now we need to write the thing that we want to print in the console between those two brackets. We obviously want to print a text. That's why we need two quotation marks, because every text in C is written between two quotation marks. Now we can write hello world. Texts are called strings in C. Every string always needs quotation marks. I can try to leave them out. And if you then try to compile it, look at here, there's like this gear. And if you click on it, it will tell us where we have made a mistake in our program. As you can see here, error, hello world undeclared, first use in this function. This may sound really complicated, but this just means, hey, I don't know what hello world means. What do you want me to do? So we need to tell the compiler that this is a string, a text. And now if we try to compile it, it works perfectly fine. So what we have actually done by compiling the program is that the compiler created an hello world.object file, which we cannot open if we try to open it using, for example, the editor. We can see this. This looks really interesting, and we cannot execute this. But we can execute our hello world.exe file. If you click on it, you will see a very short flash of a window. This is because the program is executed and after that immediately closed, because we didn't tell it to stay open. We will learn how to do that later. But if you run it through CodeBlocks, if you click on Run here, the program will start normal and we need to press a key so that the window gets closed. So as you can see here, it says hello world. Congratulations, you have just written your first program in C. Of course, this is a very simple program, but it is really important to learn the basics of a programming language before you learn some more complex things. Okay, that's it for this episode. Please leave some feedback in the comments down below, and we will see each other in the next episode.